For the Glory is proudly powered by Mullaney Dairies.
Hello and welcome to another episode of For the Glory, an athlete empowerment production series brought to you by the Wattle Nest. My name is Rachel Condos Fields and I'm excited to introduce you to some of Australia's great sporting talent as we share their stories, celebrate their success and embrace the power of sport as a true connector amongst our community. Joining me today again is Australian track and field athlete and For the Glory co-host Nana Awasu. Nana, welcome back and how are you?
Thank you for having me, Rachel. I'm so excited to talk to some athletes today.
And very excited for our first one today as we welcome an AFL veteran known for his red hair and good spoils, Daniel Merrett. Welcome to the show, Dan.
G'day guys, g'day Rach, g'day Nana.
Hello. Thanks for coming in, Daniel. You played 200 games in the AFL. Can you talk us through your journey and is there anything you would change looking back?
Well, looking back in my career, I was fortunate enough to come into this AFL system as a 17-year-old, pretty much straight out of high school. When I came to the club, it was late 2002 and my first year was 2003. At that time, the club had won the 3 premierships in a row. And my background was more, it wasn't AFL. So I'd only been playing the game for like 18 months before I got drafted to the Lions. So I was very raw and I wasn't overly talented. So they had one of the greatest teams of all time. So I didn't actually start playing in the team till 2005. And if anyone knows their AFL, like I said before, the team won 2001, 2, and 3. They made the granny in 04. I started playing in 05 and pretty much we were rubbish for the next 10 to 12 years. So if I could change anything, it would probably be my timing to get to the club, but that sort of thing's a little bit out of my control. But looking back, not really. I think maybe in hindsight, could have I, started the game a bit earlier so I could start playing a bit earlier. In my time, I was pretty proud of the way that I didn't come from an AFL background. I grew up playing rugby league. And then through high school was volleyball and touch football. So I was proud of the way that I was able to transition into the AFL system and then build my skills to the point where I was able to build a career playing football. When I left high school, I was probably thinking, okay, where do I want to go and work? And definitely the AFL wasn't on the radar for a career. But to answer your question, have I got any regrets? I got suspended a few times. So I'm not super proud of those instances, but it kind of came to the territory. I wasn't very skilled and I wasn't very fit. I was fast and aggressive and that's how I played. So, the few times when I got suspended, particularly in my last game, I got suspended for 2 weeks, which, isn't a great way to go out of the game, but probably summed up my career a little bit.
Dan, you talked a little bit about the timing and how luck had a bit to do, or bad luck, I guess. You transitioned and you spent some time coaching the AFLW team, and I think there was a bit of unlucky timing in terms of that stint as well. Do you want to talk us through that?
Yeah, so when I retired in 2016, I was just mentally cooked, physically cooked. So I actually didn't want anything to do with AFL. So I was lucky, one of my good mates, Craig Starcevich, the legendary coach of the AFLW team, got me down to help coach, and it brought the love back for AFL when I got to coach the AFLW team. I think the way those girls were working full time, coming to training for the actual love of the game, and I think that's what I lost when I played at the end of my career. Become more of a job, more of a business, and and a bit of a grind. Very thankful to get that opportunity. But I coached them for 4 years. The first 2 years we made the granny, we lost. My work commitments got a bit much after that 4th year. And in the 5th year, they went on to win the grand final. So I don't know if it's just me, but I think I'm a bit of a jinx. So I can come into the team, build good habits, create a good environment, but I just can't get the wins. So this year this is the first year I haven't been associated with the Lions since I got there.
So it's our year, is it? Well, watch out, guys.
I think so. If you are a punter, maybe get on the Lions this year because I've got nothing to do with them. So,
looking back at your career, who was the toughest player you came up against?
When I played, my position was fullback. So pretty much I just stopped all the gun forwards from kicking the goals. And what do people watch the game for? They watch it for those gun forwards to kick goals. So I was a bit of the bad guy, a bit of the party pooper. But I'm very thankful I got to play on some amazing players. The hardest would have been like Buddy Franklin, legendary. I had to play on him all the time. Tom Hawkins from Geelong. We had some good stoushes, but my hardest I've ever had to play on was Barry Hall. When he played at Sydney and when he played at the Western Bulldogs. I'm not sure if anyone remembers the footage. Just YouTube it when he knocked out Brent Staker. Sorry, Stakes, to bring this up. But he was mad. Like, he was mad as a cut snake. And when you played on him, you didn't sleep well the night before the game. It was always a challenge coming up against him, and you're always a little bit frightened. So I probably say there's not often a grown man that's actually frightened when he goes out in the football field. So it was always a challenge.
Did you have any superstitions before the game? And if you didn't, how did you prepare for a game?
I think you need new ones if you did, because they obviously didn't work.
Yeah. I didn't have any superstitions and my preparation was quite fluid. But I think it's because the stuff I was doing during the week, I'd prepared, like I'd done my training, I'd done my recovery, I've done extra skills, and then my study on the opposition, I was all over it. And I used to come to the game so confident, and it didn't really matter what happened. I remember one game I was in the bathroom and I had to quickly, we were running out for the game, and I ran into the bathroom and I slipped over and did the full backflip, cracked my head on the ground, and I thought, that's not a good sign for when I was about to run out. But it didn't bother me. I'd gone on, played the game, had a good game because I'm so confident in my preparation that I wasn't nervous. Towards the back end of my career, I was probably talking about things I regret. I probably started taking a few liberties. My body was super sore. I didn't train as hard, and I probably wasn't doing as much work on my preparation. So I used to get really nervous. So then I got really superstitious. So I'd have to wear the same socks, the same jocks. I would have to eat the same meal that I'd eat at home. So then when we'd travel and we'd go to the hotel in Melbourne or, Adelaide or Perth, I'd take my own food and then go into the kitchen at the hotel and make sure they cooked a particular pasta I liked. The pasta sauce wasn't a big issue, but it was more the pasta and then the same drinks I'd have at home. I used to have filtered water at home, so I'd take bottles of filtered water with me, so it was the same as home. So yeah, it got a bit out of control towards the back end, but I think that was to do with my preparation and not having confidence in how I prepared for games.
You talk about being physically and mentally cooked after retiring. How did you find the transition being in the women's AFL squad, being a coach, and then going into the corporate world?
Yeah, so like I said before, when I retired, I was just so beaten up. My body was so sore. I was just mentally fried. And I was very happy to give the game away. And I really didn't want anything to do with it post-career. And and like I said, getting that love back for the game through the women's program to see how much they loved the game, how hard they trained, and how committed they were. I was like, this is what it's all about. This is what footy and sport is all about. When you're in the men's game, it becomes such a grind and such a business. That a lot of that love for the game, I think I lost that. So going through that period was awesome in the AFLW program, and then what it was I going to do for a job. So I got into sales, and I never thought myself as a salesperson. I hate those like hard pressuring sales, like your real estate, your used car salesman, that sort of feel. And I was like, that's not me. But what I've learned is, everyone sells in their own way. Every day, no matter what you're doing, whether it's your kids, your partner, you're always trying to sell something, right? Like, do you mind if I just stay out a little bit later with the boys tonight? Like, how can I sell that to my wife or my kids? Like, how do I persuade them to brushing their teeth in the morning? And that's how I use my selling. So I went into the corporate sales and sponsorship, the Brisbane Lions, and very thankful for that experience. It taught me a great deal of that side of things, and it's a relationship business, and it's all about building strong relationships and getting to know people's businesses and finding a solution on ways we can help. So now I've transitioned into Hastings Deering, selling caterpillars, and it's the same thing. So I'm super grateful for the opportunity the Lions gave me to now go on to the next part of my career.
I've been fortunate enough to work very closely with Dan in a period of my time, and I can say that he is a person all about relationships. And Daniel, you talked about that connectivity, and I think when we look back at your playing career as well, you had this unique ability to foster connections with the crowd, and you ended up with your own cheer squad, the Sauce Squad. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that relationship and how you managed to get such a loyal fan base?
Yeah, so coming into that, I thought a little bit that I'd share with athletes is that engagement with the public, with the crowd, it doesn't seem much. A lot of the times you're in the zone, you're focusing on the event. There is a lot of noise, but you're so focused on your event and achieving that you kind of don't engage. And I think as I went on in my career, I got a bit more comfortable, and I just found that engagement with the crowd during the game, after the game, like when you're walking in, how much impact that has on our supporters and the people that are there to support you. So during games, I could hear people that always yell out. Generally, it was opposition fans. That wasn't very nice, but I would always give them a thumbs up and make sure they knew I heard them, just to keep them honest. And they seemed to cut it out. But then for our supporters, just giving them a wave and a thumbs up, or even after a game, going on and having a 2-minute conversation, just what impact that has on them, particularly kids, I felt very, gratifying. And one day there was a game down at Metricon, and these group of kids were yelling out to all the boys, like, "Hey, Zorks, give us a wave. Hey, Richie, give us a wave." And they might have given away, but not much. And then when they called out my name, and my nickname was Sauce, and they go, "Hey, Sauce, give us a wave." Just a wave and a thumbs up, just that engagement got them really pumped up to the point where they started singing songs like chants and putting my name in there. And then in the AFL, at the end of each quarter, you change ends. So what they'd do, they'd pack up from one end and walk to the other end of the ground so they could sit behind me and keep cheering me on. And every time I went near the ball, I got a huge cheer, which never happens because I was a fullback. Like, no one cheers a defender. And so every time I went near the ball, I just gave them a wave, celebrated. Generally, so what I do, the AFL is a game where you're meant to kick, handball, and mark the ball. And I was no good at any of those things. So I would literally just punch the ball away to stop my defender getting the ball. And every time I punched the ball, those kids were roaring. And so I was celebrating every time I punched the ball. And it became this thing where these kids became my cheer squad. So everywhere I'd go, they would go. And yeah, it became my cheer squad. And I said to Simon Black, mate, you can have your premierships, you can have your Brownlow medals, but mate, have you got a cheer squad? Have you got your cheer squad?
Sounds like you have some loyal fans there, Daniel.
Absolutely. We are running out of time and we haven't even had the opportunity to talk to you about your beer and your famous goal that you got that raised some eyebrows from serious punters. But we've run out of time. Before we finish up, Dan, I know that Nana loves a bit of trivia, so she's got a few questions to throw your way.
I have two
Let's do it.
questions for you, Daniel. The first one is, which country is the first country to win the FIFA World Cup?
The first country, can I guess, was it Argentina?
No, it was Uruguay.
Wow,
And my
there you
second
go.
question for you is, how many Commonwealth Games has Australia hosted? We're about to host one in a couple of years' time.
Yeah.
Okay. 3?
Oh, double that, it's 6.
Yeah,
There you go.
We've had a couple.
We're just not old enough, Dan. That's all right. I didn't know either. Hey, Dan, as I said, thank you so very much for joining Nana and I in studio today. It's been an absolute blast. We could sit and talk to you for hours and appreciate your insights. You're a true gentleman of the sport and we've learnt a lot from you and you're a real inspiration for the community. Good luck with your new gig and thanks again for coming.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you.
And Nana, another brilliant story, and I'm sure you got a few takeouts from Daniel's time with us today.
I'm definitely going to start engaging with the crowd when I'm running. I want a cheer squad.
Challenge accepted. Well, that concludes this episode of our For the Glory series. If our stories have inspired you, please reach out. We'd love to bring you along the journey so that we can help promote and share stories of our athlete world. Until next time, thank you. Goodbye.